new data entry interface is finally done and ready to launch. This video is going to serve as your comprehensive tutorial as to how to go about entering your stats and how the data will be displayed to you in the new portal. Obviously, we'll still have the peer-to-peer comparative analysis that we've always had and that you've come to expect from Decade. This is just another look as to how you can analyze a single round in single shots. Whether you're using your phone or the desktop entry, the data entry is basically exactly the same. So I can voice over this video easier. I'm just going to use the desktop version. So let's get started. We're going to select our course. I did my US Mid-Am qualifier at Hackberry Creek in Irving. I'm going to select the men's 18. We played the tips. Started on hole 1, holes played 18, not really. I quit through 9 because it was a driving rainstorm and it was miserable. We're going to save this and go to the next. And then once we scroll down and look at the back 9 only. Now I'm going to do this slower than you actually can when you're entering the data on your own because I want to talk through it so there's no questions. We started on number 10, par 5. If you change the tees around, you can move the yardage, that's fine. I made a 4. My mental scorecard was a 4. I hit a driver off the tee. I hit a chip shot for my third shot to a foot and made it. I'm going to pause this real quick right here because I want to show you on the phone interface. Obviously, as I'm using the keyboard here on the desktop, I'm just tabbing from cell to cell. But one thing that really helps speed up entry is when you're using the phone interface, this button right here tabs to the next cell, this tabs to the prior cell. So when you enter the mental, rather than clicking and then coming back, you just enter your number, click that, and it takes you automatically to the next cell throughout the process. So that really speeds up entry. Number 11 is a par 3 that we played at 185. I made a 3. My mental scorecard was a 3. I had a 30-footer and made a 3-footer for par. 12, I hit a terrible tee shot, but I made a 5. My mental scorecard was 5. I made a 1-foot putt for par. 13 is a par 3. I made a 4. My mental scorecard was 3 because I was a little uncommitted to the tee shot. I hit a 5-iron off the tee, which actually makes me remember that here I hit a 8-iron. And then on 13 I hit a decent chip shot to about 15 feet, missed it, made a 1-footer. 14 I made a bogey. I was committed to every shot. I hit driver into a fairway bunker, got it 25 feet above the hole in the worst place possible, hit it to 4 feet, missed it, made bogey. 15, hit a good drive, good second shot. I had a 40-footer that I lagged to about 4 feet and made it. 16, I hit a bad tee shot off into the trees. It was raining at this point and quite miserable. I hit a decent chip shot from jail to 25 feet and made it. 17 is where it gets fun. I made a triple, and I was actually committed on every single shot. I hit a 6-iron off the tee, and I had a 15-footer and made a 2-footer, technically picked it up. That's where I called it a day, and then we're going to hypothetically play 18 with a water ball just in order to talk about how to do a hazard off the tee shot, and we'll pretend I had a 15-footer that I missed. Now we're going to click Save, and this is where the fun begins. You start by setting the pin because it makes it much easier for you to do your second shots and whatnot. So we go back to the hole view, and we're actually changing this part too to where it will give you, it's going to start the tee shots at 70% of the distance of the hole. So it'll get these things in a little bit better position for you. So I've set my tee shot where I hit my opening tee shot to. Now when I go up here to the green, I can move this guy around. I hit it just long, and then I hit a nice chip shot. I click Save and move on to the next. But I'm going to freeze it right here real quick so I can show you how I track stats on my pin sheet. I've now caddied over 100 rounds, and this is kind of the battle-tested method that I've come up with, and I used it in my own qualifiers over the last couple years. And it's pretty simple to do either while your opponents are putting out or they're teeing off on the next tee shot. So for starters, I simply note right here, this little dot means that I did hit the fairway. This dot right here means that I did hit the green. So I had 198 yards for my second shot, which is why that is circled. So I put what my actual distance was up here, circle it. I do technically note which club I hit. I rate the wind from 1 to 5. I don't try to write down miles per hour. 1 is it's barely blowing. 5 is it's howling, and why are we playing golf? So 3, it was blowing about 15 or so miles an hour, maybe a little bit more than that. And I note how far total I hit my 6-iron. I don't care what my distance was to the hole. I was trying to hit it 198, obviously, but I actually hit it 206. So that way I've got things to reflect on throughout the round and further on in the tournament. Over here on the right, I then will note if I had a 30-foot putt, it would be 30, and if I lagged it to a foot, 1, and then the circle means that's how long the putt was that I made. This particular shot, since I did miss the green slightly, well, I mean, I hit the green in regulation, but since it was a par 5, I was slightly long right of the green in 2. I had a 12-yard chip shot. So right here is where I will note how long any short game shot was. So on the tee shot, if I didn't hit the fairway, I would put just an R, meaning right. And if there was nothing else, it would obviously mean that I was in the rough. But let's say that I hit it in this bunker. I would put L and then the letter B, so LB means left and in a bunker. If I would miss the green and it was in a bunker, I would put, no dot here, but just a B, which would then let me know that this 12-yard shot was actually a bunker shot. So it's just a way to kind of take a few notes as to what actually happened on the hole, and I'll put this up for every single hole throughout this 9 so you can see the notes that I made. Now here we are playing the par 3. We come in, I set the pin was up here on the front. Select putt, shot 2, I was right over here. Shot 3, this is a super fast putt. And see how this thing is just tracking? So all I've got to do is put it anywhere on the general line that I was. So the whole location was right here off the front left. Hit it just a little bit long, save, move on to the next. This is where it started getting a little bit interesting. I hit a pretty terrible tee shot over here into the trees. I hit a really nice recovery out here to about 220. And you can see up there in the top right, and then I hit a nice little chip shot. I just try to get this thing up here near the green so then I can move into the green. The pin was right in the center. I hit a chip shot that was just short. Hit a chip shot that I technically got just long. We're going to track whether you hit your chip shots long or short also. So go ahead and move that even though it's a foot. That way I know that I got it past the hole. I'm going to save this and move on to the next one. Par 3, the pin was right up in here. My putt was from here. My shot 4, I got just past the hole. When I come back to the hole view again, this would be one that should be in a slightly better spot, but I hit it kind of a terrible, this is why the 5-iron, this was the non-committal one that I referred to earlier. I kind of flared it out there short right. We're going to save and move on to the next. This tee shot I put into this bunker right here. I then moved on to the green. My third putt was back here long. The pin was up here in the front bulb. I hit a pretty good putt that just didn't quite get down there. My 5th shot, I got just past it. Bam! Now let's go back and look at the hole. So, hit a tee shot into the fairway bunker, just long, and 3-putted it. Save, and move on to the next. Go to the green. The pin was right back here. My 3rd shot was right over there. 4th shot, I got just past it. Let's go back to the hole view. I had 157. There we go. 158 is close enough. In the fairway, save and move on to the next. Now this one is going to be interesting. The pin was way over here against this corner. My putt was from long. Go back to the hole view. I hit a pretty good little recovery shot from where I was up here long right. And my tee shot was pretty terrible over here into the trees. So I hit a bad tee shot into the trees, got it up there long right, chipped it on and made a bomb. This next one's where it's going to get a little dicey, but it's going to allow me to show you a few things. First of all, when we first made this interface, you were grabbing it too much and moving the hole around. So we made it to where the only time that you can actually move the hole around is when you grab it in the gray area. The green it will not move, the gray it will move. Next, zooming in sometimes might help. You can obviously pinch and pull from the gray area in order to zoom in and out. Also, you can just use these handy little buttons. Now, since I made a triple on this hole, it is a little bit more challenging for the algorithm to figure out exactly what to do, because the USGA should have marked this as water hazard, and yet they didn't. And so I'm going to go up here to the, see right there, I was just trying to move it in the green. You have to move it in the gray. Let's select go into the green. The hole location was over here. My first putt for double was from here. I got it to 2 feet and I scooped it up and called it a day. But to go back and look at this again on the whole view, I'm going to zoom in right here. So I was technically inside of this hazard area right here, conveniently located in a tree that I got to try to hack a putter off of and moved it approximately 1 foot. My second attempt with the putter moved about 10 or so feet right into this area, and then actually hit a pretty decent chip shot that landed in the fringe, exactly where my tee shot landed before rolling the 40 yards right into the hazard, not hazard. And now let's play number 18 for funsies. Let's just say that I hit my tee shot into the water. I then took my drop back here. I then hit a nice little layup down to here, had 135 yards. We're going to go to the green. The pin was here. Let's just make this up. Shot 5 was from here. Shot 6 was from here. Save it. And now my round is done. Then once you finish setting all of your pins, you'll click to continue, and the algorithm will find any shots that went backwards. It's obviously impossible for you to take a penalty shot and have your ball move forward. You at least have to be dropping it in the same location. And so it figured out that on hole 18, my second shot went way backwards, and so it's asked you, was this a penalty shot? And so if it's checked, then it was. Now, it's possible to hit a tree and have the ball go backwards, and if that were the case on this hole, I would just uncheck that one. If I missed a penalty shot, I can click add another. If I had to take too many clubs in my bag and unplayable, all kinds of nonsense, that's where you might have to fill this in here. The next question is recovery situations. It correctly picked up that my shot on hole 12 was over there left in the trees. It picked up that on hole 16 I fanned it to the right in the trees, and then on 17 it was just like, what is going on here? Anytime that you drop a pin in the gray area, which means that it's kind of off the golf course, it's going to come up in this recovery situation, and it's going to ask you, was I actually in a recovery? And so technically, hole 17, shot 4, I was not in a recovery. I'd finally gotten out of that little bush, and I was just chipping it. If it happens to miss any, so if you were in a tree or there was an overhanging tree on a dogleg or anything, you can click that in right here, hole 17, shot 4, and it'll be able to calculate strokes gained correctly from that point. Once you've done all of that, you click this finalize button, and it runs the math, and you are good to go. So you can see here my back nine allegedly was 41. I'm sure I would have birdied the last hole to shoot 39. Kind of a nice kick in the face, but then it gives you the stats immediately, and let's take a second and look through those. Now, it immediately gives you just your basic tee, and obviously I've made up the front 9, so none of these are actually accurate, but it gives you, your basic stats right out of the blocks, and then you can click this strokes gain tab, and it'll bring up this chart that shows you what each hole's strokes gained off the tee, approach the green, around the green, and putting was. Let's zoom in on the back 9, since it's the only legitimate-ish 9 that I played this day, and show you this functionality. This is literally derived straight from ShotLink. I can click any shot that gained 0.5 or more, so when I made that 25-foot putt on number 16, that was a plus 0.92 stroke gain putt. I can check for just any positive strokes gained shots. I can say, well, I just want to know any shots that lost, or anything that lost a half a stroke or more. So where are my really bad shots? Well, that tee shot on 16 that I hit into the trees was really bad. That tee shot on 12 was right on 0.5. I guess that's a rounding thing. I'll tell Chris to change that. We're actually still fixing a little bit of the strokes gain math off the tee. This shot should not have lost 0.2 since I did get stroke, but I gained some distance. My tee shot on 13, the par 3, was pretty poor. That tee shot on 17 went into a really bad spot, and then also I had some struggles in my short game around the green. I'm trying to decide if I want to actually just make that be a shot where it applies into a strokes gain recovery and doesn't actually penalize my around the green. And then on 14, when I 3-putted, you can see that I lost 1.08 strokes putting right there. And the last piece here where I say this is even cooler in some regards than ShotLink is you can click on this hole by hole tab, and this does something that ShotLink doesn't even do, where it shows you what every single shot was. So number 12 is the one where I hit the drive up the left into the trees, drive traveled 260 into the left trees, a minus 0.502 shot, so you can actually see what each shot was in relation to strokes gained. And because the last thing I want to do is be labeled a quitter or encourage you guys to quit, I'm going to show you two videos real quick. This first one is literally what it was like when we were on the 17th tee that I made my triple bogey on. Soaking wet and miserable is an understatement, but by the time I got into the clubhouse and put my stuff in my car, it had stopped raining, and as I was pulling out, I decided to shoot over to 17 real quick to film this ball rolling off the side of the green, as I'm literally standing in the fringe here, in order to ask the USGA why this isn't marked as some sort of a hazard, because you literally have exactly 0 options, aside from walking all the way back to the tee with an unplayable on a par 3, which in that rainstorm was not going to be happening for me. Anyway, circling back to the data entry, I do believe it's pretty intuitive. You start off by completing that spreadsheet, select what club you hit off the tee, what your mental score and what your score was, and how long your putts were. From there, start by setting where the pin was, so move that around to wherever the hole location was, and then once you select putt, you grab automatically. So you can see I'm just spinning this around. You just have to get it on the general idea, place it with a click, shot 4, and now I've got control of it. So if I left it short left, long right, it's just spinning around. So I've just got to kind of get on the general line that it was and click, and now I've saved it. Now I go back to the hole view, and I take this, and as you can see up in the top right, it's showing me as zoomed into the fairway, and then in the top left it's telling me how far it was. So I was 157 yards, and I'm right here in the left center of the fairway. Set it, click save, and hit next. There are a few more cosmetic tweaks and just another couple things we're touching up, and I'm finalizing all of the new video content for this fall, but as you can see, this thing is ready to go, and there is nothing else like it in the market, both in the quality of data collection, the quality of analytics, the quality of video content with the Decade course management tutorial, and the library of video content that is custom tailored to your needs in your game.